Hey there. Hello and welcome in. I have this theory that Mozilla may want to kill Firefox. Don't get me wrong. Maybe that's not true. I just have this theory because why would they actually introduce these terms of services, right? It's a little bit sketchy because when you look back, like let's skip to 2000 and let's say 10. I believe Firefox had roughly 30% of the desktop browser market share, so it was fairly significant, right? Along with the Internet Explorer and stuff like that. Uh, Somewhere around there, I don't know exactly which year was it, but then Google Chrome was introduced, and it was shit. It wasn't good. It was a new browser, and it was light and fast, and that was the benefit, right? But it wasn't able to open all of the web pages. So people, I mean, who installed Google Chrome in the beginning? Well, early adopters who wanted a clean, lean, and fast web browser, right? They didn't really care about whether it can open all of the web pages as long as it's like clean and not bloated and fast, right? Fast forward to 2025, it's a very bloated and very hated web browser in all of our spaces. I mean, between people where you care about your privacy even just a little bit, right? So we are not here to talk about Chrome. It did take over the entire internet, and that's a fact. But if you fast forward from roughly 2010 to let's say 15, Firefox market share dropped significantly, like 3 times, like 300%. So it dropped from something like 30% to something like 10% in just 5 years. Basically, Chrome ate it, literally, and just like it ate its RAM. And this number of 10% steadily declined over the years, and now we find Firefox roughly at somewhere around 6%, depending on which stats you look at, because none of them are really, well, like 100% accurate. But even in the best case scenario, you will never find it to be reported to be above 7%. And what is happening right now after these new terms of services have been introduced, we now see that the Linux distributions are dropping Firefox as their default browser. And just this week, you're going to see another distribution which is going to ship a new version, and they also are dropping Firefox as their default browser, right? And why this matters, right? You who is watching this video, you're going to pick your own browser. I have no doubt about that. Default browser doesn't matter for you. However, when you see when you look at the global desktop market share, the majority of people are, well, how do you call them? Normies, right? People who install the operating system and use it as it is, right? Whatever the default browser is, people are going to stick with it. Even some power users might be inclined to try out a different one if it comes pre-installed, because I'm talking from my perspective, right? When I install a new distribution, usually I just use whatever the default browser is in the beginning, like when I roughly just install it, until I settle down and adjust all my stuff, right? And I don't really download my web browser immediately because I'm not that much into web browsers, if you know what I mean. Most of the web browsers nowadays do the job just fine, right? So for just the introduction, when you freshly download the operating system, do you change your web browser like immediately, or do you do it a couple of hours later until you're done with setting things up, right? And in this time in between, I might get a sense of this other browser that was placed in front of me. I don't know, maybe I'm going to like it. Recently, I have done a big browser comparison that I kind of showed to everyone on this channel, and I now have a vaguely um, different perspective. And by different, I mean a little bit more rich, right? So uh, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's just two web browsers out there in the world. And why I say two, it's basically the Blink-based browsers, right? The Chrome, the Edge, the Vivaldi, whatever, right? And there is Gecko web browsers, right? Firefox, Florp, Zen, whatever, right? We have two. Basically, we have just two. If you want to be able to open all of the web pages, right? And now, why did I start this video, right? Because if Mozilla didn't really want to kill off Firefox, then they surely had to be aware that Linux distributions are going to start dropping Firefox as their default browser. Surely they anticipated such a thing to start happening, right? Because if this really starts happening, and I can already see it happening, then the market share is going to drop even lower than the current 6%, right? Let's say that in a year or two, Firefox comes down to, I don't know, 3%. What happens then? I mean, 3% for everything that is like Gecko based is not that good, right? I mean, if you what is the primary concerns, right? Web standards and monopoly. If all browsers rely on the Chromium code in the near future, then who gets to benefit from that? Google, right? And they will effectively dictate the web standards. We are no longer talking about privacy. I mean, we are, but the major topic is now shifting towards the monopoly, right? So if the Chromium is the basically only web browser in the world, and everything around being Chromium based, then Google is the one who is effectively dictating the web standards. They are going to um, adjust the web to what fits their wallet, right? Their stock, their value of the company, right? And you can already see this happening in front of your very eyes with the fact that they are changing some things within the Chromium project that is effectively going to kill off the ad blockers who are not shaped in a way that Google likes it, right? So basically, I believe that if not all of you who are watching this video, then most of you are using uBlock Origin on Firefox, right? As of right now, this is becoming a thing of the past on Chromium-based web browsers. Surely there is Brave and Vivaldi who are working around this issue that Google has introduced, and they now have their own ad blockers, right? But you know, from the perspective of the ad blockers are not that important as a topic for this video. What I'm saying is that Google will do everything in their power to adjust the web to what they need, right? For what they need in order to earn as much money as possible. And they will not truly care about you and your rights, and your rights for privacy, and your rights to not run the code in your web browser that you don't want to be run, right? They will simply do it the way you know which way they are going to go, right? So, this is particularly concerning because it could stifle innovation and reduce the incentive to continuous improvements in web technologies, innovation, competition, stagnation in the development of the web and stuff like that. And then there is privacy and data control. Chromium is an open source project, right? But if you rewind this video just 2 minutes earlier, you will remember that I said that no matter the whole thing being open source and like free software, Google still is controlling this, right? And whoever is forking um, Chromium to make their own browser, they are still bound to the changes that Google is dictating, right? So no matter that this is like open source project, it's still going to go in the ways of the Google's interest, right? So I don't know how to better shape this into normal words that it is understandable for everyone, but I don't think this is heading the right way. And this time I want to blame Mozilla for not doing enough to hold on to their market share. I don't know how this sounds in your ears, but we as users we can't vote. That we don't have this much power to affect Mozilla, right? If we all start dropping Firefox and everything Firefox based because of their leadership and what they're doing, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't really care about the company. I don't care about Mozilla. They're nobody to me. They're not my uncle. They're not my mother. They are just one of the companies, right? What I do care is for Google not to get all of the market share, because in the long run this is really bad. This truly is really bad. And what can we do about it right now? I mean, if we all start dropping Firefox and start adopting Brave, Brave is a really good browser. Don't get me wrong. If you remove all of the bloat, which is fairly configurable in the options, then it's fairly a good browser, right? It's still a free software browser. It has an amazing out-of-the-box ad blocker, and it opens all of the web pages, right? And why does it open all of the web pages? Because it's based on a monopoly browser. You see where I'm going with this? We are basically helping Google by choosing Brave and choosing Vivaldi and whatever, right? So why not use LibreWolf? Because LibreWolf is not actually a web browser. This is still Firefox. They are not LibreWolf developers. They are not developing anything, essentially. Florp is not developing anything. Zen browser also not developing anything in regards to the web standards and the browser. Everything is being done by Mozilla. Everything. All of the other Firefox-based web browsers, they are not doing anything to help develop web standards, to help develop the Gecko engine. Everything is being done by Mozilla alone. That's the problem, right? So when people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter if Mozilla like bankrupts and if Firefox dies, then LibreWolf is going to take over." No, LibreWolf dies along with Firefox. And every other Firefox-based browser, every single one of them dies off immediately when Firefox dies. Whether or not you are a fan of Firefox, this really doesn't matter. What matters for you, even if you're using something like ungoogled Chromium, this is fine. This project is fine if you want the highest possible like privacy and you want to use the Chromium web-based browser, right? But if Firefox dies, the one that you're not using, then your future of the web is going to get worse. How much worse? I cannot predict. I don't have a crystal ball. I just don't have it. But if you do just a tiny little bit of research in how, in not the web browsers, I mean, do a little bit of research on how monopolies function and what happens when monopolies are in the rain. Doesn't matter if it's a web browser topic, if it's an operating system topic, if it's a topic of anything else in regards to the word monopoly. But when I say monopoly, I mean the true monopoly, when only one player is in the game. In basically every scenario, the innovation dies off, and the boxing in into the locking in into the ecosystem of the one who is controlling it happens, and nobody of us gets anything out of that. It all the development of everything comes to a full stop, and this is really not good. What can we do about it now? Can we all help Firefox in the way that we suddenly all start using Firefox? That won't help. That really will not help. It's up to Mozilla to do something about it, in my opinion. They are the ones who need to do something about it. The developers of the rendering engine behind the browser itself, they are the ones who need to do their job better in a way that is I'm missing a word in English. The ones who are developing, they need to make it good for us. Good is not the word that I was looking for, but I just cannot remember it now. We need an incentive to be given to us in order to jump on this web browser, right? This is a job for Mozilla, not for us. And then we are coming to the new contender in the ring, which is Ladybird web browser. I'm sure that you vaguely have heard of this. It is a completely new web browser, a completely new contender in this ring. And in roughly a year from now, they are going to introduce an alpha version of their web browser for early adopters, right? So this development of this web browser is in such an early stage that is not really worth talking about, because none of you will have anything from it today, and not even in a year. In a year, it will be a time for very early adopters to start testing it and providing some really needed feedback. But in how many years this is going to be an actual product that the end user, that the normie is going to just use and say, yeah, this works for me, it is fine. I don't know how many years it will take. But this gives me hope that there is someone who has the power, the willpower, and the know-how to replace Firefox if Firefox dies, or even better, if Mozilla gets their shit together, there will be a third contender in the ring, just like Opera once was, when it had its own rendering engine, and before it was bought by Chinese. And if we get the third contender, and if Mozilla gets their shit together, this is awesome. Then we have 3 of them to choose from. So I think it would be good for all of us to, well, cheer for Mozilla to recover, even if you're not using it. Even if you are a hardcore Chrome fan, it's fine. But still, I want you to cross your fingers for Mozilla to recover, because if they recover, this is good for you as well. Even if you really don't care about Firefox whatsoever, it is good for you. So by saying all this, I'm going to close this video, and I'm going to see you in the next one.